Contemplativeness. A tricky word to say, right? Yet it's the cornerstone of all that we do at Abode. Heck, it's even part of our name, Abode Contemplative Care for the Dying. But what does it mean? At Abode, sometimes we define it as being in the present moment, being mindful. But I like to take it a step further. The best way I can understand it is by relating it to when I feel most at home, when I'm in my groove, in my flow. Time seems to stop. When I'm not podcasting or training and dispatching doulas at Abode, I'm a professional actress. And when I step onto a stage and feel the energy of that cavernous space just waiting to be filled, I can't help but experience awe. And then I apply my makeup, put on my costume, step out into that sacred space, say the dialogue, sing the songs, dance the choreography, and time seems to stop. I'm in my flow. I had a conversation like this with our guest today, Justin Burton. Justin used to be a college football player, and he brings that flow, that groove, that sense of home that he felt on the football field to the work that he does with people at the end of life and at Abode. Justin serves as Abode's vice chairperson. He serves on the board of the Alamo Area Home Care Council here in San Antonio. He helps seniors navigate through the aging process by helping them find a place to spend their final hours. Justin embodies contemplativeness. And I'm excited for you all to meet him. Welcome to Before You Go, the official podcast of Abode Contemplative Care for the Dying. At Abode, our mission is that we live in a world where death is not feared, and we live fully until we die. And we'd like to make that happen before we go. I'm Natalie Buster, yoga, volunteer, and doula director at Abode in San Antonio, Texas. Welcome to Before You Go. Hi, Justin.
Hey, thanks for that opening welcome, man. That was great. That was awesome, really, actually.
I don't think it did you justice. I mean, I'm excited for people to meet you because you are a force, right? You are a multi-hyphenate. You do a lot of things in the community. You help a lot of people, but you also have this presence and this understanding of the contemplative nature that we hold so dear at Abode.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. I really do. I try to, literally hold that contemplative side. Being a part of a boat is amazing. So thank you for the warm welcome, for the greeting.
What would you like our viewers to know about you and the work that you do in San Antonio?
Basically, as you said, you kind of lined it out there pretty good, though. I would say you really did, though. Like literally. So, being a part of a boat is great. Literally, been a part of a boat for 2 years. Been a part of the Alamo area going on 8 years, 9 years, I think, somewhere in there. Been in healthcare since 2016. And now working as a consultant, working with the hospice company, Transcend Hospice, working with the different hospitals, just helping families. I think one of the big things I try to do is making sure that families, patients, guests, as we call them at Abode, case managers, just know that I'm a resource to them, that they can use me as a resource, that I can help them along with anything they need. And if I don't know it, I'll always try to help them find out. So that's what I try to do for the community. One of the big things, try to pull people together, and then being at Abode with everyone like yourself and the rest of the team. I just try to do my part and make sure that, I keep the train moving for everybody.
And we appreciate it so much. I'm curious, and I'm sure our listeners and our viewers are curious too. What are some of the things that you help families find, or what are some of the things that they need when their loved one is at the end of life? What do you see?
Well, big thing I see that most family needs is just kind of some direction. Not a lot of families know where to go and what to do once their family member comes to the hospital or goes to the rehab center. We're never faced with those things when we're younger, or like maybe you learn a little bit more. But my full job is to help them be like an educational piece for them in the beginning, right? Most case managers that like refer over to me, they give me referrals that literally I'm helping them with placements, helping them with the hospice care, helping them maybe get from a hospital to a rehab. And so the big thing that I try to do is making sure that I make that process easier for them. It's hard sometimes, it can be very taxing, but at the end of the day, the biggest part is just making sure that we're doing the right things for the right individuals, helping them because we all understand working in our industry how tough it is help family members or to be that family member that needs help or helping them when they're dealing with this for the first time, or it's just such a shock sometimes of how it really just happens to your loved ones. Like, it just come out of the blue sometime and you don't know what to do. And so here I try to come, try to do my job, try to help out and let you know that you're not in it alone.
Oh gosh, that is so helpful because I'm sure a lot of people who are listening wish that they had a Justin Burton in their corner. Because that's the thing, right? We may have seen this hundreds, even thousands of times now. But for the family member who's going through the imminent loss of their loved one, this is the first time that they might be navigating this landscape. And so having someone like you, like the people at Abode, to really help walk that path with them and help guide them is so helpful.
You have to learn how to deal with each individual situation. And and sometimes you have to just fail by learning because sometimes you won't get it right. And so I think that's kind of the good parts too, right? It's just such a beauty being to help families, especially in what we do at Abode.
And you have such an interesting history. Seems like it was a natural progression that you became such a fixture at Abode. But I'm curious, like, what introduced you to Abode? How did you find Abode? And then, get on the board and be such an influential person?
Being a former athlete, I think you get so heavy and so hard into the emotions that come into it. You have to learn how to control those emotions when you're done with it, right? And so, being at Abode, you're a part of the meditation and a part of the tranquility, the contemplative side of it. I think that helped me understand, or help it just resonated with me because I meditate a lot, pray a lot, and I try to find that central, integral, balance piece that we try to find at Abode to help family members and to help our guests. And so I think it just kind of worked and kind of just took over me. And I love Edwin and Patsy. They're really nice. Literally
Our co-founders, yes.
and I think everyone just was so great, and so I think my time in Abode has just been remarkable, and I'm going to do my best to represent Abode in every way and in all good things possible because such a great organization.
A lot of the people who watch and listen to this podcast don't even live in San Antonio. So I always try to describe Abode. I mean, it's more of a feeling,
It is
right?
right. It is right. It's more of a feeling, and I know you and we've been in the chair yoga, the meditation, and it's kind of like that feeling you feel when you're at Abode. It captivates. It brings you in. And
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it, right? Because we understand at that end of stage, end of life, that
hmm
sometimes it's not always peachy king and rainbows and pretties and all these things, but coming to Abode, it allows you to just have that sense of just relaxation.
That's what we all deserve
Like
at the
we,
end
we
of
all we all
life.
deserve that, and you could feel that, right?
Yeah.
Just speaking, literally, just speaking with a former guest of ours called me. Family member called and said, in lieu of flowers, they want to donate to a boat.
Oh my
And
gosh.
that stuff, and that hits you, right? Because it lets you know that this guest of ours wasn't even there, a full week, but they felt the power that a boat gives you, that peace, that just that relief, that family members get to feel during those end of times, those end of days. So I just, that's just something that's beautiful, and and why can't you get behind it?
I know. I mean, everyone should donate to a vote. Everyone
Exactly,
should
right?
just come visit us if you're in San Antonio or read about us on our website,
Exactly.
abodehome.org. You brought up a little bit about your history as a football player, college
Yes.
football player,
Yes. Yes.
and the emotions that you experienced on the field. And I think this is where you and I connect a lot. I
Yeah.
come from a different background as well, from an
Yeah.
acting background, and all the emotions that you have to harness and
Exactly.
use to your advantage. what are some practices? I mean, you mentioned prayer and meditation, but I wonder if you can go a little bit further about how important it is to create those healthy boundaries for your emotions, especially when you're working with people at the end of life.
Well, I would say it truly helps, right? Football, from the way I played, of course, everyone says it, literally 41. So I played in the, 90s, early 2000s of childhood to young adult, I guess college life. And we played a hard game, right? Very physical. And you want it to be as physical as possible because that's the name of the game, right? And so those emotions just don't leave you once you get done, right? You have them, wins, losses, injuries, ailments, things like that. Everything just plays a picture into it. And I think one of the things that athletes learn is that winning and losing kind of dictates how you feel about certain things. But the most important thing is that if you ever got injured, you learn how to overcome things. Then you learn what you're made of, how much you can deal mentally, how much you can deal physically. And I think the injury part helps you more than anything because it teaches you in a sad, funny way to be contemplative, right? Because you have to overcome something. You have to overcome a pain, you have to overcome a surgery, and you have to do rehab. And those things make you cry. Just as we lead to death, those things make you cry. And those things hurt you because you're a shell of yourself. You're a shell of who you once were, and you have to get back there. And I think that's the same way when we're dealing with death. If you deal with someone else's death, you lose that life, or you that's a loss of life for you, and you're a shell of yourself because you've lost a piece of yourself with a family member, with a friend. I think overcoming that brings you into a new light. You come into a new person, and I think through sports, it taught me to be more relaxed about who I am as a person. Right, understand that I'm still a human at the end of the day. I have to work each and every day to get better at something. It teaches you to take your time with something. It's learning that you can overcome things as long as you put the work in. It lets you know that you have people there in your corner. So I think that's one of the big things about death and about what we do at Abode. We let people know that you're not alone. You got someone in your corner. You have people there to help you. And you know this, Natalie, after someone passes with the boat, we don't just lose in touch with them. We continue to talk to them, and that's the biggest thing, right? That you're always there working together. And I think, being an athlete, that's one thing that you learn, right? The wins and losses, the wins are the greatest thing, right? But when you lose,
Sure.
you cry, or and please, everyone listening or anyone who's ever been an athlete, you could be in the college or the NFL or any major sports. You lose a tough game, you lose a Super Bowl. I've lost state championships and I've lost bowl games, and we cried. And so you can't be tough enough to say you didn't cry. So we cried, and we felt the agony of defeat. And then I just remember, I literally I ran a post route one time and my foot stayed in the ground and I kept running. So
Oh
my
my,
leg was shredded, right? And
oh my gosh.
and so that teaches you, right? Okay, you're gonna have to get back there. And so I think one of the big things about what we do at Abode that can teach you from anything is about how to be one with yourself, to know that you can always mess up, but to get yourself back to a balanced place, to get yourself back to a place of meditation. I meditate at least, 10 minutes a day, sometimes even more, really depending on the day or the morning, I should say. But I think it's a big thing that we all should do because it does help you to understand the whole big picture of things. Like I said, when you're injured or when you're doing things, you're gonna have bad days. But just know that, it's okay to have a bad day. That's the part of it, right? Understanding and knowing that it's okay to have a bad day. And it's not nothing to be knocked on. It's not nothing to feel bad about, and we used to make people feel bad about those things. I think now we understand that like we all go through things and that we need sometimes to have that bad day in order to have a better day.
It makes us stronger in a lot of
When
ways.
we're having a bad day, we need our contemplative friends.
Right,
We need our
right.
family. We need our people to come in. And I think, that's kind of that great balance that we all look for.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And it sounds to me that, your background in sports and then your work now with people at the end of life have taught you so many life lessons. And I wonder, How has this taught you to look at your life and to really see what's truly important?
I think the most part of is that it teaches you to find your purpose and to find what's most important, right? I always say this now is because, you go through different things in life as an individual. And so it teaches you different things. So I try to live a righteous life every day. And I use that word righteousness or righteous by the sense of the token that I know I won't be great every day, but I'm going to try to be exceptional or to be better than the next day. I think with working in what we do at the end of life, it just allows you to be a part of people's daily life that you may never get an opportunity to. Every day you get to touch a different individual at their portion of their stage of their journey. And you never know how much impact you can give that individual or that family member or that guest because, you just never know the situation that you're going to be put into what they're in. And I think within my life, it's also taught me to be more patient, more understanding. Of course, with the ones that you love, right? Because we see it all the time, the frustration that happens. But at the end of the day, you always just want to know that there's someone loving you, there's someone that you can depend on. I think in our business, in our industry, we get a firsthand seat to, one of the glories that God gives that, if you allow yourself to be openness about it, it can really be remarkable and life changing. And I think that's just one of the great things about working with at the end of life of death, being able to embrace that part of it and knowing that what we're doing now, trying to educate, just trying to give information. It's just like who knew that this was actually the profession. This was a job, right? Like
Can you imagine, like, little Natalie, the actress, and little Justin, the football player, and someone says, "Hey, in 20 years, you're both going to be in the death industry, educating people about the dying process."
that's literally right. So I tell people all the time, like nowhere in my in my bingo sheet or in my in your magic 8 ball we used to have as kids did it say healthcare counselor, healthcare consultant slash hospice slash. So it didn't say any of that. But I'm blessed and I feel that we're all put here to kind of be here for the right reasons and it's such an enjoyment that we get to share abode and we get to share the things that we get to do with families and guests and so
Well, what I love about Abode is that it encourages us all to bring our whole selves to our service. And so whatever talents we have, whatever ways that we communicate and connect with people, it really celebrates that. And the people at Abode really celebrate and support each other. And that's the reason I'm there. I love everybody.
yeah, no, I love everybody. The navigators are just so amazing. This, the doulas, the volunteers. When we do things, it's a culmination of everybody working together as a team, and that's the remarkable piece of it. You're able to do those different things, and then and then you have that one-on-one interaction with the guests and with their families, and so that's just remarkable.
I wonder if you can share with us, Justin, a time when your work, your presence, all of this knowledge that you have, how it really benefited a family or a person who is at the end of life.
There's so many different, situations we can run to, but I think one that I kind of stand out to me is like we dealing with different things. And I would say this time was probably most of the ones because COVID was so different for everybody, right? But for us and what we do, we were challenged with it so much. Death was a true part of life then, right? We had to understand and compartmentalize that, like family members, people we love, were probably going to pass away just because of COVID. I know during that time, I touched a lot of families, but just one in particular, it changed me for a while because there's a husband and a son with special needs, and his dad was taking care of him. I think the mom had just passed away, maybe right before COVID, and so just a lot of emotions. And I remember being there because they had COVID. And I remember being there with my laptop, you know, letting the family members talk to them. And it was kind of like at the end of life, right? Those times where you couldn't be with the family members. And I just remember like being a part of that moment with that family and me being the central piece that bonded them together through an iPad. And like, you couldn't help but cry. You couldn't help but get emotional because like they wasn't given the opportunity to have the last rites of peace that they were granted for by gifted by what God gives us, right? By who we are. And when loved ones, if you want to, you want to hold their hand, you want to tell them you love them, you want to sing them a song, you want to kiss their forehead, you want to do all these things at the end, right? We all know it. And I was able to be that piece for them and to give them that kiss, with a glove on my hand. It was just so much emotional, and there were so many more, but that one there, just because like they were asking, like, can you do this? And, we're talking, we're hearing, and it was just, I just felt like I was a cousin. I felt like I was a cousin. And it's ironic that like, we're Facebook friends, the family and I, right? And so I love their Facebook pictures. They love mine. And I just think like those are the beauty moments that remind you all the time when you have something to think about, that like some people don't get these certain opportunities. It's such a remarkable piece of it that we get to be a part of their journey, right? And so I think that's probably the most memorable things, that we get to be a part of so many different journeys. But when you're impacting them in such a way that we know we have or we can, it helps you understand that, you know, when that time comes for you, that, you want to let the person or the individual give you the granted to just be a son, to just be a daughter.
Yes. To not have to do all of the heavy lifting,
Right.
leave that to us.
Yes.
You can just be the family member, the friend.
Those things are just remarkable. And I think, that kind of just helps you put into perspective about how wonderful it is that what we do, right? So it just brings that light of that joy of what we do. And then it just makes you feel so warm to let you know that, man, family members love, and there's so much love out there to give. And when you have the time to extend your love to another person, it's exactly what it's all meant to be.
One of the things that I really want our viewers and our listeners to take away is this idea of love. I think when people think of the death industry or people who work with those who are at the end of life, they think it's really dark and depressing and morose.
Yeah, yeah, no,
And
yeah.
it's quite the opposite.
Quite the opposite, really, because it's so much. There's so much passion, love, energy, connection, healing, and you want to go down all the stages you can. But I think that, what we try to do at Abode is bring that piece of relaxation, bring that piece of love, bring that piece of contemplativeness, bring that piece of meditation, tranquility, all the words that we use, and to help family members, understand that they can come here to relax, right? You know this, Natalie. There's been so many times we've had guests to where they may not have seen their father, their mother, their brother or sister, but they got in touch with each other back at a boat.
Mm,
And
I
those things
know.
warm your heart, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. How lucky are we that we are part of this love, this ocean of love?
It's an amazing thing to be a part of, and I feel it from you always every time we're around each other. Big warm hugs, big smiles. So
Oh my gosh, I could talk. Well, we do talk all day, but but I want viewers to know how they can reach you or how they can find you either online or how they could learn more about you and the work that you do, Justin.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. JMB Management is my company. I work with Transcend Hospice. And so, you can look up Transcend Hospice on as well. I'm always here for information. Like I said before, it's a resource. My job is just to help families, as you say, help families navigate through the aging process.
I'm sure a lot of times also people don't know what they need, and so you can help them navigate that too.
And I think that's some of the part too, Natalie. I think sometimes people just don't know what they're looking for.
Justin, something we ask everyone who appears on our podcast, we ask them the same question, and it is, what do you want to do before you go?
I guess probably one thing I would like to do before I go is skydiving.
Oh, yeah.
so,
Yeah. Do it now.
so adrenaline junkie, I would love to do that one though. So
Thank you for sitting down and talking with
oh, you're
me
welcome. Hey,
today.
thanks for having me. Literally, thanks for having me. Literally, I appreciate it being a part of the podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Abode's Death Cafe. our objective is to increase awareness of death with a view to helping people make the most of their finite lives. To learn more about Death Cafe, go to abodehome.org. Oh my gosh, will you all just come to Abode already so that you can take in some of that energy that Justin gives? How fun is he? And the fact, like, I love how he relates his past as a football player and all the emotions and the wins and losses and the injuries and the defeats and the heartache and heartbreak to the work that he does with end of life. It's quite remarkable. And I think it's a really great example of how this work is so universal, right? And that at the end of the day, all that matters is love, that we're connected by love. If you're in the San Antonio area, please come on by, take a look, visit us at Abode. Like Justin and I were saying, it's a feeling, it's a place, but it's also a feeling. And you'll get that feeling of love and that contemplative feeling the moment you walk in the doors. This was so great. Thanks all for listening, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Before You Go, the official podcast of Abode Contemplative Care for the Dying. At Abode, we believe death is not a medical event, and we are not medical professionals. We're just sharing our opinions, and these opinions shouldn't be taken as medical advice. You can find us online on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. This episode was edited by Make Your Day Richer.